All right, I'm here with the current athletic director of Warren G. Harding High School, former Massillon Tiger head coach from 1998 to 2004, Rick Shepas. Coach, appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me. Big game ahead here.
Absolutely. And I want to talk a little bit about your experience with the game, and we'll just kick things off. The first year you were at Massillon, what was the preparation like for the game, and how did you balance all the events and everything leading up to kickoff?
I don't think you could prepare when you're a first year coach for the events that are going to take place during the Massillon McKinley week, especially if you're coming from the high school realm, even if it's at a high level, which is where I was at Seneca Valley before I came over to Massillon. But there's a lot of action-packed time that consumes a week for the players and the coaches. I think I try to rely on my preparation for the game itself to keep me centered. That way, I had good focus, and then I was able to take in all the festivities of the week, from the preparation to the decoration of the school to the Booster Club meeting on Monday, touchdown club luncheon on Tuesday, breakfast at the Baptist Church on Wednesday morning, taping my television show for the pregame, on Wednesday night, to the parade on Friday, which my kids truly enjoyed, and then the game itself. So, there's a lot of preparation that coaches plan for to get ready for those things. And I try to be mindful ahead of time, at the beginning of the season for that particular game.
What was the day like of the game itself? Like, did you get any sleep the night before leading up to the game? And what was your day like leading up to kickoff?
I mean, we had pregame rituals as a family. When I prepared for, no matter where I was for any game, the night before the game, it was usually a family dinner, and we usually had a game night, or we spent a lot of time together as a family. So, we would go do the parade in Massillon, and then we would come back from the parade, and obviously the house was full with guests that wanted to come down for the game. Home or away, it didn't matter. We had a full house. We had food going on into the evening, and we were playing board games and spending time with the family and just relaxing and unwinding. Of course, the preparation was already set. But what I really loved was the morning of the game itself, going down to the Episcopal Church. Our pregame meal was right across the street from that at the local, I believe it was the Elms Club, and we walked across the street. We had a great breakfast meal, and then go in for a service that would get us in the right frame of mind to be prepared, put our game faces on ahead of time and go dressed and prepare for the game.
Now, when you look back at that first year, did it live up to the expectations? You hear stories, and everyone talks about the McKinley Massillon game. And what was it like with the expectations you had going into that game? And then when it was finally over, how did that feel?
I'll tell you what, it lived up to every expectation that I could have had, to be part of a football game like that. Of course, I was prepped, in high school. I was part of the North-South All-Star game in the summer of 1983. So I spent 2 weeks in Massillon as a player preparing for the North-South All-Star game, and with Massillon McKinley type festivities to get ready for the North-South game as well. So I had some preparation ahead of time. We were the definite underdog in the game that year. But we had found our identity late in the year. And went into that game with just a great game plan. I mean, we were facing, a pretty formidable opponent with, Doss, Kenny Peterson, Demir Martin, and the rest of the crew, and I thought we played as well as we could play. Hillary Moore wasn't quite as healthy as he could have been for that game on the defensive side of the ball. And I really do believe that Dave Irwin hadn't got hurt in the third quarter. I mean, we beat McKinley in year one for me, and we would have had kind of success moving forward because we respected the game so much.
Yeah. And then you got your first win in year 2, and I've started going back and watching old games, and I just rewatched Go Tigers, and seeing that whole thing and all the stuff leading up to the game and the school levy and all that stuff. How did that in year 2, with an additional distraction of having the movie filmed and the school levy and all that kind of stuff, how did that play into that year number 2 for you?
Well, I got to credit Mike Kearns, former Massillon Tiger coach, who was very successful in assisting and help shape my understanding of what he thought a Massillon athlete was, what he thought the strengths and weaknesses are within the program that he experienced. I felt that was transformational for me. It led to some changes we made scheme-wise to prepare for that game. And I think one strategic thing that I failed to mention earlier that was, I think, significant is, Steve Kovacs was a great coach over at Canton McKinley. He was a defensive coordinator for Tom McDaniel. He's an outstanding football coach, outstanding man. And he did not get the Canton McKinley job. Gary Habakkuk did. I hired Steve to come work with us because I wanted to put the best coaches in front of our kids to prepare them week in and week out. And not only did Steve do that, he gave me insight into, the core defensive philosophy, that they were running, allowed me to really prepare offensively, using formations as an advantage to get ready for that game. So, preparation, always preparing, always trying to improve. You have your strategic plan, but it's flexible so that you can adjust and do the best things you can.
And how much did the strategic and the planning and all that from your first year in 98 until 2004, how much did that evolve and develop into where, it was like a well-oiled machine going into that week? Everything was kind of laid out for you.
Yeah. It's in the way you prep. A lot of people say that week in and week out, you prepare a little bit for the opponent that you have to beat on your schedule. What I needed to do was adjust because I came from the Mahoney Valley, the Steel Valley Conference, and, we prepared with great respect for every team because there were, a relative who's who of coaches in that area. You couldn't take anything for granted. That obviously helped me in my career for sure. But, the Massillon-McKinley rivalry itself is a little bit more than rivalry that I would say. It's a little bit more than respectful rivalry, I would say. There's an intensity to it that matches, Michigan, Ohio State, Auburn, Alabama, those kind of games. That's the game on your schedule. If you're a coach, that you have to win. Otherwise, you're going to hear about it for 365 days after that. So you take time week in and week out to prepare, follow strengths and weaknesses of your opponents, obviously. But in this case, sometimes they're not necessarily strengths and weaknesses of the athletic nature of your team. Sometimes they're political in nature.
Yeah.
And, who's going to play quarterback, for example, I think is big in those, in those two programs. Those aren't easy decisions for coaching staff, teams to make because they could prove pivotal, in the way the season goes and the way the community, gels and blends in, with that culture of winning. But I think once you're in a direction and once you have your identity, I think you just do your best to prepare and make sure you're physically and mentally fresh for that game.
Well, Coach Shepas, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to talking to you in the future.